Once again, Governor Brian Kemp issuing a new executive order. It has been in effect since midnight, so just a few hours now. This means the state's coronavirus restrictions have been extended. Social distancing guidelines and shelter-in-place orders for the medically fragile remain in place until at least the end of the month. But what's getting a lot of attention this morning is the governor suspending local mask ordinances as part of this new order. Mara Siriani live outside the state capitol with more.
That means that Governor Kemp is essentially overriding these local mask mandates that were put in place again by local governments, including the one right here in Atlanta. So we're breaking down this new executive order. Much of it is really an extension of the previous one. As you mentioned, it does continue to require social distancing, banning gatherings of more than 50 people. It also expands the shelter-in-place order for people in nursing homes and, again, those that are medically fragile. So what is new? Well, Governor Kemp says it's up to school boards to require face masks and enforce social distancing during athletic, musical, and other school activities. He says districts can reduce class sizes or move students into more open spaces to help with social distancing. School districts should also ensure all ventilation systems are working properly. And lastly, back to those masks, we've witnessed a stiff debate between Governor Kemp and Mayor Bottoms over the past week. Kemp did encourage mask wearing, but said he would not go as far as mandating it. Meanwhile, Bottoms tried to make it a requirement, but now, as we mentioned, those local ordinances have essentially been overridden by this new executive order that is in place. So that order went into effect at midnight. It's in place right now, and that new order is 41 pages long. If you'd like to take a second look at it, go ahead and head to our website, 11alive.com.